what keeps a person in this physical body? Asking and little resistance, continuing to ask and little resistance. So how that would play out in the context of what we've been talking about here is you would bounce out of the vortex frequently, have a contrasting step one experience, which would launch your rocket forward, and then you do the work of getting right back into the vortex. In other words, that's the recipe for longer, resilient, good feeling life experience. And think about it, people who are out of the vortex all the time, they're not having much joy, and so their lives don't go on and on and on. And people who chronically stay in the vortex aren't asking, and so most of the death experiences happen because someone got too far from who they really are and then did get run over by a truck or ravaged by a disease, or someone who was so in alignment that they weren't asking more from this time-space reality, and so they reemerge into non-physical. That is the best description of what is the majority of the reason that people have what you call the death experience that we've ever given. Either too far away, or so in alignment that the next logical decision is to reemerge into non-physical. So what you're saying is, I'd like to consider a third option. I'd like to be so in tune that I'm soaring and therefore maintaining my well-being.
Yes.
But willing to step out into a step one experience briefly enough that I keep asking with the knowledge of how to get back into alignment quickly. And that's really what the art of allowing has been teaching in all of these years. In other words, that's why we say there is nothing that you cannot be or do or have. There is no exception. If this time-space reality gives you the desire, this time-space reality can deliver the goods. But you've got to play the game according to the laws of the universe.
So can I just make a point? Can I stay in the vortex all the time, or is that impossible and it just comes down to it's just about the amount of time that I stay out of it. Like, in other words,
well, to be fair, the vortex is not this static, rigid place with a door in and out. In other words, it's moving.
But if I feel great all the time, aren't I in the vortex all the time?
If you were to stay in,
and I just ask this question because I want to feel good all the time.
If you were to stay in what we are ultimately calling the vortex, you would reemerge into non-physical because in that complete absence of resistance, you would become non-physical essence. And so that's the game that you're all playing here. In other words, it's dancing this edge of reaching for the new. And that's why it's a step one, which is usually an out of the vortex step. Step two is source, shores it all up. And step three is then you bring yourself into alignment. And what we want you to hear is the zest of life is the moving in. It's not the being in. It's not the getting in there and staying there, the zest of life, because think about it. Oh, you're really going to like this. This speaks to the subject of contentment that we talked about. When you get in the vortex, that means you're up to speed with the energy that is there. And when you're up to speed with the energy that is there, you have a feeling of contentment and satisfaction. But that feeling of passion is the feeling that you have when you're getting up to speed. And when what do you like better? Passion, getting up to speed, or contentment, being up to speed? You see? And so that's why non-physical is up to speed and coming back for more, and up to speed and coming back for more, because the exhilaration of life is that moving into the vortex, not moving in and staying in.
So I don't have to go all the way to despair and being suicidal and then all of a sudden get passionate. I can go back and forth between maybe a tiny little boredom and
Haven't
passion.
you noticed that when the more time you spend in the vortex, the more excruciating it is just to barely step out?
Yes.
In other words, you'll never go all the way back to despair. A little bit of just being a little doubtful instead of hopeful will bring you to your knees.
And that's outside of the vortex, correct?
Once you're used to being in it.
So the gradation or whatever the emotional scale becomes slighter and slighter.
Perfectly said.
All right, thank you. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
That was meaty. Stand if you think it's you. You are the one, yes. So I want to live happily ever after. Good mantra. I want to be in the vortex, but not enough to croak. You really don't need to worry about that. Sometimes you do worry, oh, what if I feel so good I just die? Sometimes Jerry and Esther will be having a moment and Esther will say, maybe we're dead. Maybe we're dead and no one told us.